welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David, and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
Today will be the day where from now on, when we live our lives, we're going to go back and think to ourselves, like the audiences will, oh, that episode of Talking Pictures with the sore voice and the sore throat.
You're a little bit under the weather. Not under the weather.
I'm not under the weather. I just have a fucking sore throat. I don't know what's wrong with me.
So we're here.
It's not stopping me.
No, you're here. You're gonna persevere through it to give these people the episode that they always come back for every single week. But we are going to talk today about the final movie of the MCU for 2023, The Marvels. But as always, before we get into that, we have our trailer of the week. You have tons of trailers to choose from. So what have you decided is the...
I decided to give a shout out to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and The Fall Guy and Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire and Inside Out 2 and a Netflix Millie Bobby Brown movie, Damsel, and a new Spielberg Tom Hanks War series, Masters of the Air, and did you watch Slow Horses? I did. Season 3 is coming out, new trailer. I like Reacher Season 2 trailer. That was good. Echo trailer came out. More violent looking than ever, and under a new banner, which I'm sure we can get into later on down into the episode. Did you watch all these trailers?
I watched the majority of them. It seems like with the actors' strike finally coming to an end, studios were just like, okay, now's the time. Go, all of our trailers all at once.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of nail down any of them. But if you just go online now and just look up like trailers, like you'll see all these, or just take them one at a time as Brian went through them there. But it's worth having a look. It's a wide variety of what we have to look forward to now coming up in 2024.
I like getting 2024 trailers now while we're in the end of 2023 and see where we go from there. I'd say I liked the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer. I liked Ghostbusters Empire. And for what it was, I liked Inside Out 2. So
it's nice this time of year where we get the trailers and it comes up 2024. And you kind of have that moment where you go, 2024, that's ages away. And then hold on, no, it's a couple of months away. And you realise that we're at the end of this year, as opposed to if you get a trailer right at the beginning and it's still next year again. It's like we'll get these now at the beginning of next year for 2025 and that'll feel so far away. But we'll realise then, as we get to the end of the year, oh, great, it's not that far,
I'm looking forward to making our top 10 anticipated movies for 2024. Yeah. Looking forward to that making of the video.
But before we look ahead to the upcoming films, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today, the Marvels.
Yeah, let's look higher, further, faster.
So we did our homework on this in terms of we went back and listened to some of our previous episodes on the Marvel Universe. So so far since we started Talking Pictures Podcast, we've done an episode on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which came out in March of this year. February. Wow, even before that. We had Guardians of the Galaxy in May, and then we also just did a small viewer submitted question where we discussed what we thought about the MCU and how it was progressing and stuff like that.
And in terms of shows,
we've had a few shows now. We've had Secret Invasion, and was She-Hulk this year?
Oh, no.
No? That was last year? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's this year? Just Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2? Am I missing one?
David, I think that's just about it.
So just Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2 then, in terms of TV. So it's been a slower year, I guess, in a way, compared to maybe last year. I don't know. How would you describe it?
How would I describe it? To stand out was Guardians of the Galaxy. Because it was a steal. It was great. And Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was very mediocre and blandly generic. I wasn't liking it. And Secret Invasion, strong start, poor end. I'm not going to get into Loki because you have not seen season 2, but
that's fresh.
That is fresh and that is solid. Loki is great. I compare Loki to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in terms of the capability of that project standing on its own 2 feet, unique outside of the MCU, even though it's part of it. And that comes to the Marvels. So I wasn't looking forward to it. I wasn't anticipating it very well. Popcorn, hang out with you, and sure, look, we'll see what we can get. I liked it.
Yeah, I think I was in the same boat where it wasn't one that I was very high up in my anticipated list, but going into it, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and I was enjoying it from the start. From the first minute onwards, I was like, okay, this seems like it knows what it's doing, and it's not going to be, like you said there with Ant-Man, like generic, like kind of, we'll forget about it come a year from now. But I felt like the Marvels, it really actually surprised me.
Let me put it to you this way, David. To compare Ant-Man and the Marvels, not going to throw Guardians in that mix because Guardians is unique beauty.
Yeah.
I think the Marvels did what Ant-Man failed to do, but Ant-Man got one thing right that the Marvels did not.
Okay, interesting. Oh, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought the Marvels had a unique... No, scratch that. Backtrack. It follows the general superhero tropes in movies. But that's fine. You know, there's only one 3-act structure. There's only 12 steps of a hero's journey. But how is this movie gonna do it? It's like a well-known director doing a genre movie. Well, you're curious to see what their take is on that genre movie. So what's this movie's take in the superhero movie 3-act structure? Well, the chemistry between Miss Marvel and the other two. Captain Marvel and Photon, or Binary, or
Spectrum, I think, is official title maybe, but
the other one. We can get into the chemistry of them later, but that's a starter, right? The second thing is Miss Marvel, just on her own. The third thing is it felt safe because we haven't seen some of these characters in a while. And this movie stands to serve as a sequel to Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Miss Marvel, WandaVision, and Secret Invasion, maybe. So it feels like we've been, stretching our arms, and we finally made the fist when we stretched our arms. It's probably difficult for listeners to understand what I'm trying to explain, but you can see me, David, and you know what I'm doing. You know when you stretch your arm, and, stretch it all the way back.
Yeah, and you finally reach that moment
and then you clench your fist. It feels like this movie was the fist clenching to see where we were going with all these bleed ups, because Miss Marvel had her own show. What was her name? Maria Rambeau?
Monica
Rambeau, the niece to Captain Marvel. She was a main character in WandaVision. So where is she now to here? Nick Fury, from what we saw in Secret Invasion, whether that is a prequel or not, I don't know, we'll get into that later, but what he was doing there compared to what is here now, especially with the Skrulls aspect, but I don't know. And then with Captain Marvel, like, what's this cold woman who's god powerful and armor indestructible being doing these days? Because we had our movie, and then we had our quick extended scenes in the start and the end of Endgame. So what's she been up to now? Haven't seen her in a bit. Yeah, she was in Shang-Chi for that post-credit scene, but that Shang-Chi is a movie lost in the downward spiral of the mediocreness in that of the MCU. So we need this movie to flesh out more Captain Marvel to be more in the likeable category, if you will.
It's hard for her specifically as a character, because when you take a lot of things into consideration, that when she shot those scenes for Endgame, that was actually before she had filmed the Captain Marvel movie. So she hadn't fleshed out the character. She hadn't really got a chance to find how she wanted to portray that character. She found that in Captain Marvel, but then that Captain Marvel movie takes place in the 90s. So it's
40 year
30 year difference, between when we see her there to Endgame, and then since then, like, we're seeing this character now 35 years post when we originally see her. So she had a lot of building to do in terms of what is the character like now. Like, there's been 30 years between when she's introduced and now, and are we going to see that progression of that person? You know, because if you looked at Tony Stark in Iron Man versus Endgame, 10-year difference. There's a clear difference between how Tony is there in Iron Man versus Endgame. So shouldn't we see some kind of regression, because it's extra long, 30 years between Captain Marvel and the Marvels? And I think that a difficult thing that the Marvels had to do was to show that progression for Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, and then also, in a way, introduce us to these two other characters and give them an appropriate amount of screen time, that being Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau. So I think it had a lot to do for characters, for those three, the Marvels.
Yeah.
And I think that for both, I don't know about you, for both Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, it did it excellently. I think that both films, I think we saw a different side to Captain Marvel as we've seen previously.
I agree.
We've seen a softer side to her, a more lighthearted side. She doesn't take things maybe as seriously as she would have done. But I can understand that previously in her other outing in Captain Marvel, the Captain Marvel movie, she was kind of a soldier and was given false memories and had one way about her, but she's now had this time to progress.
In you describing that, the conclusion I'm coming to is that every time we've seen Captain Marvel, she's a lone wolf. Mm-hmm. She's not a team player. Mm-hmm. She comes in, does her thing, does what she wants, doesn't really flash about it. She doesn't have an ego. She just comes in, does what she thinks is right, or is ordered to is right. Whereas now, she's part of a team. Mm-hmm.
And reluctantly, she initially says, like, I don't want to be part of a team. She still wants to stay in that way of sticking by herself, lone wolf.
Yeah.
And
progressing her betterment.
Yeah, but she's not like aggressively, like, I'm not part of the team. No, it's not a team. Don't, all this stuff. She warms up to it, but not like she has a heart of ice that needs to be melted. Like, she comes around to it, but not in a slow fashion, like a normal person would. Like, okay, this is the circumstances.
Yeah, so
I'll get on board.
But she still is, she still can be like strict, because there are a couple of moments where Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is standing in a room talking to these goons, bandits, villains who are just following orders of scientists, and then Captain Marvel comes back. Come on, don't talk to them. Mm-hmm. Like a strict teacher. Mm-hmm. And then stay there, don't move, don't use her powers.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do what she's told, and likely so. And then, so there was a few times where she's still not aggressive, but strict.
Yeah.
Strict. Mm-hmm. And she would be worse if it was Captain Marvel 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. It was good. I liked that she. I like that even though she started off as a lone wolf and wanting to be on her own, she wasn't. She doesn't have a big ego about wanting to remain like that.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't see herself as, I'm the only person that can do this. I'm the hero. Mm. She
Oh yeah, she needs them. She needs to keep Miss Marvel closer up because she's got one half of the MacGuffin, which is good MacGuffin because we had an entire 6-episode show of Miss Marvel having that.
And I'm glad that I suppose you can make the argument like you were saying there, right? That this movie, it's a sequel to so many other things, whether it be a movie or TV shows or Miss Marvel, WandaVision, Avengers Endgame, all this stuff. So the fact that when you watch Miss Marvel, and I only watched it recently in preparation for this movie, and I really actually ended up enjoying it. It was one of my recommendations there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And then once the movie opened and I saw that the style of that TV show was then carried forward into this movie, I was really genuinely surprised that, or not surprised, I was glad that Nia DaCosta was able to look at this Miss Marvel show and see, okay, what are the great aspects from this? Let's take it and move it in. And it felt then a connectivity, that it wasn't just that we saw this Miss Marvel show with Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
And it's one thing and that's the style of it. But now that she's in...
The style of being like Scott Pilgrim type of thing. Or like pretty much, she'd be drawing a sketch art, drawings, sketches. Like maybe her own little comic book. And you see in her head what she's fantasizing. It's all through the animation drawings. So we had a load of that in Miss Marvel, and that little detail. It's like what Iron Man is with AC/DC music and all that. Well, this is like what Miss Marvel is in her style and stuff. So they brought that into this movie, even just for that little one scene. It's establishing to people who don't know who she is, and re-establishing this is still the same person to people who have seen Miss Marvel.
And it didn't feel like we just picked her up out of this TV show and now she's in the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And that kind of carries through, not even just with the style, but her family. Throughout, like the whole first act kind of takes place on Earth with her family in her house.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, normally I had the criticism in Blue Beetle with his family, in the kind of latter half of that movie where the family take focus. When it was done here, I actually really enjoyed it because I had the time with them in the TV show, that I didn't feel like, because it was done in the TV show, that I got to know them and like them and understand who they were. So then when they're here, I didn't feel like, I need to know more about them. Like, why should I care about our family at all? They're established within the TV show and it's fully carried over here. So I know who these characters are and what they're like. And it was just a direct continuation from that series here.
So because this movie's dealing with body swapping between the three Marvel characters, you're swapping from Captain Marvel in space and Monica from space and Miss Marvel, Kamala, in her home. And because she's ending up where the other two are when switched in places, she's not getting to meet Captain Marvel when the rest of her family are still there watching what's going on here. And then you're able to pull stuff through, so she pulls Goose back with her. Then when she disappears again, I think she pulls Kree goons back with them, and then you see her family members getting vacuum cleaners and mops and brushes, just all sorts of household items to defend themselves, and their house is just completely being destroyed. And when that whole thing is resolved, and then the exposition time start talking about what's going on here, and when, let's say, Captain Marvel's talking about what's happening, Kamala's mother is like, I'm so happy for you, where's my daughter? Like straight to the point. She's that real old-fashioned motherly type figure that she could pass as a grandmother, but she's a mother, which that bond connection, I think, emphasizes more as an audience and a fan, especially having watched the movie. But I think their culture as well, being where's
Pakistan.
Pakistan, yeah. I think that just hit the home even more. But I think you said it by us knowing who the family is from the show, like it just hits it home even more. I think especially the mother in this movie, and then
because you didn't have to dedicate the time now in this short, hour and 40-minute movie, because it's established in the TV show that we can just immediately she can just go like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Where's my daughter? And that's funny, and we know that's exactly like for her. And for her husband, like, it's family first.
Yeah.
And she comes from a very family first household.
And the other scene later on when Ms. Marvel is with Monica and Captain Marvel, and sorry, your daughter has to stay with us so we can get a handle on this. And the mother's like, Kamala, if something happens, it speaks on her own tongue, I'm going to kill her. And you just... we can talk about this so much after we get our first points across, but Miss Marvel's like face, her acting, Iman Vellani acting as Kamala Khan, it's just so funny. Her hero, her idol, sitting right next to her, and her mother, her strict mother, is saying she's going to kill her if.
And she's not afraid of the all-power superhero.
Yeah, so. So like she knows it's serious, like, Mom, don't embarrass me type of attitude.
Yeah.
But like it was nice, it was good. You said that the characteristics of Miss Marvel was brought from her show into this movie and it was done well. What do you think about Nick Fury from Secret Invasion into here? Because as much as I love a couple of jokes, especially the one where everyone thinks Miss Marvel's fallen from the sky and Monica's trying to catch her. She does catch her, and then this switch to Captain Marvel, and it's Captain Marvel who hits the ground, doesn't die. Nick Fury is, oh cool, it's just Carol.
Yeah.
That little quick stuff, along with other stuff, was funny. I liked that funny stuff. But
is it consistent with his character?
In Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
Because last time I checked, he was more than he was depressed.
Yeah, it's
and that's
it's one thing I think that does happen a lot within these kind of Marvel universe. The Marvel universe is that you can have your character be established as one thing within their like maybe initial show.
Yeah.
But as soon as they're in something else
from a different director or creator or writer who has not worked on the previous content with same characters but different crew. Well, this is the story we're telling here, and this is the character we've been told or we've been allowed to use here. So this is the story we're going with, and it's like either Nick Fury has gotten over his depression quite well since Secret Invasion, or it hasn't happened yet. And if it hasn't happened yet, well then where's Talos?
Yeah, it because of that, because there seems to be a discrepancy between his character from Secret Invasion to this, it raises a lot of questions that I don't think needed to be raised. Because if you just had Nick Fury be the straight man in this, and you can give Carol those moments of levity like you did, but have Nick Fury be the straight man and he's not impressed by Miss Marvel and her jokes or her fangirlness, then it just would make more sense. Now those moments where Nick Fury was making little quips, they were funny.
Yeah, and it is consistent with sometimes how Nick Fury is.
Yeah, so but
just not recently.
Yeah, just not recently. It just doesn't fit exactly where it is, because like that where it's this huge moment where, or not huge moment, but like the stakes are really high. They're falling to the earth. They're gonna hit the ground, and they hit the ground. And he goes, "Oh, it's just Carol." That's funny, and there was that's another thing we haven't even got into yet, but the movie, it was very genuinely funny with those little quips. And they felt real to the moment.
And like he's bringing everyone back home in space, and Kamala's brother's praying, and Fury's like, "You pray," and he stops and, "Don't stop, we need all the help we can get." Things like that is funny.
It was genuinely funny throughout.
Not overly funny, but as funny as an MCU movie can be funny. It felt like
it was lighthearted.
Yeah, there you go. That is the best way to put it. And it feels like we have not gotten a lighthearted MCU movie in quite a while.
That hit the mark, because I think Ant-Man tried to be that.
Yeah,
Ant-Man's always been more lighthearted.
But Ant-Man tried to do it in the level, like, look, we can be on the... It was trying to be something that it wanted to try.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Thor, Love and Thunder just went too far in that direction.
Yeah.
I think Doctor Strange was the last one, but Doctor Strange had a bit of a Sam Raimi style, if you will, and it had a couple of elements that, let's say, the comedy is not going to be the thing we're going to remember.
There's a lot more I want to jump into.
So do I.
But before we jump into maybe some flashbacks, I wanted to bring up, as we were talking about it, that first scene where they are body swapping and going between different locations.
Well, which I thought was very well done.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say about it, is that I thought it was incredibly creative. I think it would have been very simple to do it with 2 characters, but the fact it's 3 characters, we're getting multiple different locations, and it never felt like in that sequence I'm following any one character.
Yeah. It
was almost as if you're following one person and then they move to another location, and then as they use their power, you're following then another person in another location. So it was a great way to introduce how the entanglement worked, that it was between all 3 of them. Yeah. And then also showing 3 different people fighting 3 different battles all at the same time, that there's no even time to think. It's as soon as one of them uses their powers, they're in another area, but they're still fighting. There's no relaxing.
So for example, if someone was about to throw a punch in one location and they switch as a result of someone else using their powers, that person throwing said punch is still punching it, but appears in a new location and either hits another person or hits in midair, nothing. So it's like that scene when they're all together, alright, we're getting into the middle of the movie, bonding sequence, they start training each other, books on top of their heads, and then they try to switch to the other person next to them with books on their head, while trying not to let the books fall. Same with juggling with apples, and they're in a circle of 3, and then they have to use their powers to switch to the person next to them or opposite them and still catch the apple that they threw that they're gonna catch. And the same with skipping rope. I thought skipping rope was a fun way as well, and I believe that they would put the time in their, okay, we've got an hour until we're going to get to this location, let's get a handle on this, let's do this, and if you're going to complain, this is stupid or this is dumb, and go watch the entire MCU. I'm sure you'll find a couple of things that what they did here is no different than here. Yeah. And I've got real something else to say after the flashbacks. Yeah. Have you got anything else you want to...
Just with that, I really... It was a great tool to have explain why these 3 have to be together. Yeah. Because I think in another movie, maybe Captain Marvel wouldn't... Because she is a lone wolf, she wouldn't... Only for the fact that she has to be with these other 2. Yeah. That's why it's great. But like that, with that montage, it's great to... The montage there where you're not only seeing them use their powers and learn how to use them and with each other, but also then it kind of explains how they're bonding and how they do create this kind of familial bond between them.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a load of fun, and it was a good way to just have the crack. You need a bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah, and it's only like a 2 to 3 minute sequence, so it's not like you're taking away from anything else. It's just showing
how the powers works if you're still confused about it anyway. Yeah. Not that you should be.
But I think now might be a good point that we can jump into some flashbacks. Laura, do you mind playing that jingle?
Yeah, Laura, play that jingle.
Thanks, Laura. Flashbacks for this episode of The Marvels. Flashback number 1. Did you know this is Iman Vellani's first feature film role? Yeah. She plays Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is the first character she's ever played.
And isn't it funny now that she is an actress now playing a character who you are going to watch her in anything else and she's just going to be, oh, there's Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How crazy is it that I remember being back in college doing my dissertation on female characters portrayed in the superhero genre, and I remember referencing her as she was portrayed in, let's say, animation or in games.
Yeah.
Before the show was released, and now here we are.
Yeah.
In a third credited in a big blockbuster movie. Just a fucking shame that the actors' strike was going on.
Yeah, it's funny because Miss Marvel as a character is only a recent addition to the Marvel comics.
She wasn't like back in the 80s or anything like that.
She's like 2013, I think, is her introduction. She's also the first with the MCU. It's the first Muslim superhero. Keep them
coming.
Yeah,
I want an Irish superhero to come in, like Captain Leprechaun or something like that.
But it's nice that that's a relevant factor to her, because if you watch the Miss Marvel show, it's actually an important point that, you know, her culture and her heritage and her religion, that's a major factor in the TV show as well.
Yeah.
It's not really addressed too much in the movie, but if you're going back to...
Well, if you like her in this movie and you haven't seen the show, go watch the show. And because, you know, I think this movie does a good service in... If you watch this movie and you like her, well then go watch the show, see more of her.
Absolutely. Flashback number 2. At 1 hour and 45 minutes, this is the shortest MCU film, surpassing The Incredible Hulk and Thor the Dark World, which were both 1 hour and 52 minutes each.
I'm glad this movie was short. Not necessarily that that's a bad thing or that I was bored with it. Like, a movie is only as good as, let's say, your lead characters are, or your ensemble is. Like, if you enjoy watching them, great, and I was enjoying watching them. But, you know, we could touch on it later. I wasn't overly engaged in their antagonist and what they were fighting for. So, you know, when they're on screen doing their things, great. But, you know, it didn't feel like it dragged the movie.
No. But it didn't feel like it was too quick either.
No. Oh, Jesus, no. I definitely did not feel the run. So, I did not feel the runtime in terms of that it flew. It felt right. It's like everyone talking about when Venom 2 was like only 90 minutes long. I was like, well, it turned out quite well. I'm actually glad Venom 2 was that short, because I thought, for the sake of what the movie was, there was nothing else more than it needed to be. Same with here. Some movies I want to be 2-3 hours long based on the event. This movie didn't need that.
No, and I think it served its purpose perfectly well. Told the story. I think Nia DaCosta actually came out and said, like, why would I make a movie that's longer than it needs to be? Like, she told the story exactly how it needed to be.
Good.
And, you know, all for it. You know, like we were saying there with Killers of the Flower Moon, some movies, you're happy to be 3 hours. Make them longer. Some movies can just be 1 hour 45, and you're perfectly happy with that. So I'm glad that we do have
if you got a problem with
wide range.
If you got a problem with movies, then don't watch it.
Yeah.
Or do what everyone does. Go on your phone.
And then our last flash fact. Olivia Wilde and Jamie Babbitt were both approached to direct the movie before Nia DaCosta was hired. Wilde was previously offered the role of Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy and is eventually going to go on. She's currently tapped to helm a Spider-Woman film set within Sony's Spider-Man universe.
So what? Olivia Wilde with who?
So Olivia Wilde and Jamie Babbitt.
Who's Jamie Babbitt?
Jamie Babbitt.
I've never heard of him before.
Her?
Her?
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
She directed a couple of episodes of Silicon Valley, Girls, Gilmore Girls, Only Murders in the Building, A League of Their Own, Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Olivia...
No, this is Jamie Babbitt.
Yeah, but Olivia Wilde directed Booksmart and Don't Worry Darling.
Yeah.
So why does she need someone else directing something with her?
No, I think they were both individually.
Oh, separately.
Yeah.
Separate. Oh, right. I see. They were approached to direct this movie.
Yeah. I'm
glad Nia DaCosta got it.
Yeah, so am I. Nia DaCosta did Candyman. I think that was only her first feature film, the most recent Candyman there.
Yeah.
And
short movie as well.
I enjoyed that.
Good.
From memory.
I liked it.
But yeah, Nia DaCosta, she's I think not similarly, but she's the first black female director in the MCU as well. So it's a nice little
good.
It's a good first like that with Miss Marvel being the first Muslim superhero and now Nia DaCosta being the first black female director. It's a nice the first step in hopefully more representation for other people.
I'm waiting for the Irish director to direct a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim Sheridan.
But yeah, that or us, or we could do it.
What? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want that stress.
I'll take it, Kevin, if you're listening. But yeah, that brings an end to the flashbacks. Laura, play us out. Thanks, Laura. So,
one of these days, Laura's not going to be able to show up for work, so we need to learn how to pull that.
I need to ask her actually what song she uses, because one day she won't turn up. She'll be sick of it. But anyway, back to the Marvels. What were we saying? Good movie.
A nice palate cleanser. A nice safe movie that we both walked out having enjoyed. That we weren't overly complained about some things. That it was nice to have. It felt like, I guess, some earlier MCU movies.
Yeah.
I think the villain is a factor in that. Because remember, there was a time where we watch an MCU movie and think, we won't really take much in the villain.
Yeah, the villain is...
Villains in the MCU didn't start being good until, globally, since Killmonger, played by sexy Michael B. Jordan. But I don't know, that was in 2018. I kind of liked Ego, and I thought for me personally, it started with Spider-Man with Vulture, Michael Keaton's Vulture. For me, that's when sympathetic villains who you could get on board with, that's when super villains in the MCU film started being good. Yeah. And then that just progressed to the likes of Thanos and whatnot. But there was a time when, we had an elf in a Thor movie, and we had a robot or something with whips in an Iron Man movie, and we had... What else did we have in... Guardians. I suppose Ronan was a... He was that. He was there. But
they just were kind of expendable. It was just...
expendable, evil villains gonna kill everything.
Yeah. And won't make it to the next one. Just gone, yeah.
So, I guess... not that we're back to that, but I guess this is just what we've got here. Because, fashion model villain here. The villain is a fashion model. Yeah. Because of the hair and the makeup and the costume. She walks around wielding a hammer that looks to be as strong as Ronan's, the accuser's hammers.
I thought it was his.
Well, no, it wasn't. And Ronan's hammer had the power of the Power Stone. We need this villain to be as strong as someone like him, because I guess Ronan was in the first Captain Marvel before he died in Guardians 1. Well, we need another accuser. What's the opposite of a predecessor? Successor. Yeah. So let's just here make it a girl. Okay, cool. Make her hair like she's posing for Vogue. And why? Is she supposed to be like a soldier or something like that? And give her as much power as you can. Yeah. From what? From where? Oh, she absorbs power. Okay, fine. What was her plan?
So, I think that...
And what was her name?
So, portrayed by Zawe Ashton. Her name was Dar-Ben.
Dar-Ben.
No T. Dar-Ben.
Dark Ben. That's what I used to call the Star Wars villains, Dark Vader.
I definitely did too. Yeah, that's their name was Dark. Yeah. The thing with, I think, this villain character is that maybe there was a bit of confusion in terms of what makes a good villain, because with Thanos, I think what a lot of people took away was that a great villain is a character who in their own story is the hero. And in Dar-Ben's story, she is the hero. Yeah. Because what she's doing is, her whole plan is that her planet was destroyed by the actions of Captain Marvel in the first movie. And she...
after the first movie.
Yeah, by consequence, her planet was kind of destroyed. Yeah. So what she wants to do is she wants to bring back an atmosphere, the sun and water back to the planet. She wants to restore her planet to how it was. Which is inherently
by taking those elements from other planets.
Yeah, other systems, and inherently that is a good plan. You want to bring back life to your own planet, but the means of which she does it are obviously villainous, that she's taking it from inhabited planets and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is that that's fine, that's all well and good, that's, you know, a good character motivation. But when the villain is quite boring and bland and there's nothing else to them, there's nothing that helps her stand out.
Yeah.
That's when, you didn't know her name. I didn't know her name either. I had to look it up before we mentioned her. She just won't... When I think of the Marvels going forward, she'll be the last thing I think about.
I think Jude Law as the villain in the first Captain Marvel was better, and he's not that memorable at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
Speaking of which, I wouldn't have minded to see him again, only because he's Jude Law, not because of who he's playing.
Yeah, he's you're there more so for him than the character. Yeah, you're there for the name.
This one here, she's really disposable. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I feel bored talking about her.
Yeah, we'll move on anyway. It's like, that's the thing. I think if she's the worst aspect of it, the villain. If the villain is the worst aspect of it, you can say that about a lot of other Marvel movies also. Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, I think it's fine every once in a while when something like this happens. Not every MCU movie needs to have an exceptional villain. I'm okay every once in a while to have a real disposable throwaway one, so long as we keep getting a good couple of fantastic ones on the level of Vulture in Spider-Man, and on the level of, well, I'm just going to use that as an example, because if I say anyone else, like WandaVision, Doctor Strange 2, or Thanos, that's just going up a couple of layers of quality that this movie's villain is far away from. Yeah. But what I said earlier in this episode about what Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania got right, that this movie got wrong, that's the villain. Kang in Ant-Man 3 was a good villain, portrayed quite well by Jonathan Majors, and he was... I wanted that movie to end with Ant-Man dying and leaving that echo threat of Jonathan Majors as Kang being ever present in the forthcoming projects of the MCU to come. Yeah. And this movie, I'm going to be honest, a lot of the time I was thinking, Captain Marvel, you took down an entirety of starships with your body. How come you can't do that to your one here? Yeah. And you've got photon, binary, spectrum, whatever your Monica one is. Yeah. And you've got Ms. Marvel. Yeah. So
the power scaling is definitely off there in terms of what can she do, and maybe that's why they had the entanglement with the powers, is that she's not up to full strength. But even still, like, it was a bit weird when you'd use the power and then, like, I suppose for the next 5 minutes you're fine, you won't switch. It's almost like if you activate the power. I think they actually explain that. It's like once you activate the power,
I'm okay with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like, that can be in anything. We don't know how that works, but I just thought that come on, it's the same reason why I guess the Abomination is not going to be in the Thunderbolts movie. Yeah, because he can just go in and back smack of the hand. And,
it's power. Yeah, definitely power scaling.
So that's fine. Maybe that's the worst thing about this movie is the villain. A lot of the other things I did enjoy. There are smaller things I didn't enjoy, like there was that quick shot of Miss Marvel escorting Skrulls onto ships. Why? Why aren't you going on a ship yourself? Why isn't Captain Marvel getting you? Why are you helping these strangers? Like, things like that I hate. But that's on the same level of like stopping to have a fun wink and a crack of conversation with another character in the middle of a battle. Things like that. It's like, when people are shooting at you, and you're saying a joke just before you evade getting shot. That's general mediocre type of stuff, and I just don't like those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not letting that annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie did not do that, unlike Ant-Man. Ant-Man annoyed me a lot with that. But, and speaking of the Skrulls, what did you think of the Skrulls in this movie?
I didn't think much of them like that. It came right after me watching Secret Invasion, so I was a bit confused in terms of
the Korean Skrulls are now on sort of like they're on speaking terms. They're like the actors and the producers on the strike trying to come to an agreement.
But then also they're on this planet. They found a planet. They seem to be living well. Okay, well, why are 1 million of them on Earth then? It just whoever is in charge of the continuity there between these two was off that day. There was no like I think maybe Secret Invasion would have worked better as a sequel to this. Of having because the planet that the Skrulls were on was destroyed.
That was funny enough. That was like the structure they were living in was destroyed. And they had to make the hard decision to leave some people behind. They pulled back from that wide shot of destruction covering people, but I seem to remember everyone escaping the grounds of the avalanche of destruction. And there are still Skrulls alive down there. And I thought, I guess this must be a set up moment for Miss Marvel to see Captain Marvel having to make hard decisions, and like, you're not who I thought you were. Never meet your heroes, but that didn't really go in that direction. Okay, fine, fair enough. But I'm hearing that there's a lot of talk, not so positive, about a couple of sequences in this movie. One involving cats and one involving a musical. Let's start with the musical.
Very out of left field. Wasn't expecting it.
I liked it.
But I liked it too. I thought I wasn't expecting this ever. But because it's been relegated to this is a planet, this is their culture,
they respond and communicate through song.
I was like, okay, fair enough. I never wanted to see a Marvel musical. Or I would never expect to see,
And it's the perfect movie, I think, to have it.
It's that like you were saying there, the film is like a feel good family movie.
I wouldn't want it in a Guardians movie. But
no.
Here I'm happy to have it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that it's the tone that the film set, it worked perfectly fine, and it's also that when TV shows like the musical episode of the TV show. This was the musical scene of the MCU. It's been relegated to that, and it was fine. And
And did you see how like all three characters, the Marvels, were like
completely different vibe in terms
it's like Captain Marvel, Carol, right? She's aware of this. She's the princess. She knows what this planet is, so she's walking in there almost like embarrassed for her teammates, because even though she can I know, hi guys, but she's embarrassed because of what her two companions are going to think, but she's saying she's dealing with it, whereas Monica is like, what is going on here? Are you what? I've never seen anything like this before. And what's Miss Marvel doing? She's like fucking waving her hands in the air. She's getting on board with it. She's dancing the entirety of that take, going up the steps, waving her hands in the air, big smile on her face. She's dancing along. I thought that was a complete scene stealer for me, just because of her reaction.
And it gives a good chance for us to see a little bit of development for Captain Marvel in the time we didn't see her. She's been going around all these planets. She's become princess of one of them. And so there you go, Captain Marvel's a Disney princess.
However, though, I thought, okay, this is interesting, because I know this is the scene where the Korean actor, I forget his name, was he in? I think he was in Parasite.
the Park Seo-joon.
Yeah.
He was in Parasite.
He was in
I looked it
Parasite.
up there, yeah.
So I thought, okay, that's interesting. I know this actor's going to show up here. So how are they going to execute these scenes, establish why they're here and how to have to set up for a battle by communicating to him who only talks through the language of song. Oh, he's bilingual.
Yeah.
and so like, okay, you set up good potential there for creative maybe story progression and trying to get over this level of difficulty, this language barrier. Oh no, he can speak our language. And I'm like, I was expecting to go on your shoulders so I can see over the wall, but you actually just want me to put you on top of my shoulders,
I can see where you're coming from there, that because you were strapped in for it then, you were ready for it.
Yeah.
But I think probably because they did that was so to not fatigue the audience of it, because that joke could run dry very quickly and you could lose a lot of people in there. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and they're in Korea, they're speaking Korean, and then halfway through the scene the Korean scientist turns around and it's speaking English, because they don't want to fatigue the audience of having to...
Well, yes, that's true, but I think because it was the language of singing to communicate, I think you could have done something to just improve that, because I think I still would think the same thing. Oh, we are in a room where only a room of scientists can speak a certain language, and one turns around and speaks English just like that. And, all right, sure. But I guess I was expecting them to take one step further instead of standing still.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with the fact that their language is song. Do you know why?
What?
Because every time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when our characters visit an alien planet, Guardians Volume 3, not included, the aliens speak English.
Yeah.
How does Thanos speak English? How does his disciples speak English? How does the Ravagers speak English? How do the people in the prison in Guardians 1 and in the security facility in Guardians 3 speak English? How does...
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, if
you've had it all these times before, so now it's time for something different.
Well,
yeah. You can accept something different.
No, what I'm trying to say is, this alien planet who communicate through song, if you have a problem with that being their language, but you don't have a problem with other aliens speaking English when we're predominantly with them, when English is an earth language, if you don't have a problem with that, but you do with this, how is that not hypocritical?
Yeah, you may be just nitpicking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just because you don't like it, that song, I bet you wouldn't be saying that if they spoke English. Mm-hmm. Oh, guess what? They do speak English. Mm-hmm. It's just English words with song. And yeah, your man's bilingual, so that's English, so you don't have a problem there. But you do have a problem with it with being a song. So I'm defending that until someone punches me in the face. But no, I don't have a problem with it at all. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the sequence where, I forget why, they had to evacuate everyone? It just goes to show how much I was paying attention or how effective the plot was. But they had to evacuate everyone from that spaceship that Nick Fury was commanding all the way back from Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So they have to evacuate everyone, all the nameless people, famous and crew and all that.
I think they had to. I think their escape pods had just been all damaged, or like the ship had been damaged or something like that. So they need to get everyone off. I thought it was what did I think?
Because Goose, the cat with the tentacles that eats people. If you have a problem with it here, then you had a problem with it back in Captain Marvel 1. Mm-hmm. That it can eat a fully scaled thing and
cough it back up.
No bother, and it doesn't expand.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like, come on, that's on the vein of cartoonishism, but we'll let it pass.
I didn't think much of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
When it was initially introduced where they had found the egg,
Yeah.
I kind of knew straight away. I was like, oh, that's... Because I had seen in the marketing all the cats.
Yeah. I actually didn't think at first, but then I realised, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the eggs.
So...
I think people...
I would have rather that not be... Like, it's kind of an introduction, like that it's there's something going on here. But it doesn't lead to anything like that. It's a miscommunication.
Subverting your expectations, I would say.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't have a problem with it at all. With that, and the fact that they have to let the flurkins eat you, you will be safe because they're going to be used as farriers to
get you off
and get you home safely. See, I don't have a problem with that. It's fine. It's a little bit funny. I do have a problem with that. Every person who does not have a name has a problem with it because everyone is running away from being eaten and we're supposed to laugh at it and think it's funny. And we're not seeing any diversity of some staff being like, okay, do it. Or, yeah, absorb me, eat me, you know? Mm-hmm. There's this one guy, the big giant black guy who was with Nick Fury. You know, Nick Fury points and goes at the cat, and you know it's as if he holds his nose, holds his breath as if he's about to dive, and that's himself. He dives in for the flurkin, the cat, to eat him. Mm-hmm. He was the only person I saw who was willingly going in. Everyone else running away, so everyone else is mindless thinker about it, and none of Kamala Khan's, Miss Marvel's family get absorbed. Why do they get the VIP pass? Because
they're named characters.
Because they're some of the main characters. What?
It still would have been easier for them to be eaten, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would have been funny as well. I just don't like that. Like, anyone who's like a red shirt or a nameless person or an extra, no, like, oh yeah, what did you do today? Oh, I went on set and I've been told to run in that direction while a cat chases me. Yeah. Probably a CGI cat as well. Mm-hmm. Before the tentacles. I just didn't like that. That's like taking another step in the wrong direction of things I don't like in general superhero movies. Like, a child like Miss Marvel escorting aliens onto a ship when she should be doing the same thing because she is a child on an alien planet, and like, it's no.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like, that shit bothers me.
Yeah.
And
but there are consequences of the genre as a whole, and it's carried over into this.
Yes, that is fair. Lots of movies do loads of these things, and I suppose I am nitpicking, but we are talking about this movie. If we're going to do a deep dive in another movie that has already been released, I'm sure I'll do the same thing. I'll have to watch it to re-jog my memory, and the only reason I'm going to remember this is by listening back. I'm going to forget about my nitpicks here and there, and overall I will remember Captain Marvel having taken, yeah, it's good, fits nice and neatly in and around the middle of the quality of likability and unlikability in the MCU. Yeah. And that's where I stand on it. Yeah, I like that.
I think as a nice way to wrap up our discussion of Miss Marvel, like you said there, that you will think on this positively. I think that there's one aspect of it that we will think very, very positively on, and that is Miss Marvel herself, because throughout the film, I think she was a scene stealer.
Yeah, every time she was in a scene, I'm paying attention to her. Yeah. Every time the three of them are on like in the same shot, I'm watching her, because she was like Peter Parker to
Tony Stark. Yeah,
in Captain America: Civil War,
absolutely,
and in Endgame. This was like, this movie you can compare to Spider-Man with Iron Man and Doctor Strange in Infinity War. Mm-hmm. Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, I 100% agree with you.
Because she's huge fangirling on being on this big opera space epic adventure, and it's all cool, and it is cool.
And she is in a way almost a surrogate for the audience, because when we're introduced to her in Miss Marvel, she is a big fan of the superheroes. She's a huge fan of the Avengers, specifically Captain Marvel, and only through Miss Marvel, the TV show, did she get her powers. And now she's all of a sudden in space fighting with these people. So it's almost as if one of us who's watching the movie, we're all of a sudden thrust into this universe. So we would also be the same. We're like, oh my god, you're so and so. Oh my god, you're so and so. This is so cool.
Yeah.
So having her be that, like, you are kind of looking at her to like, oh, how's she going to react to this? How, you know, Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau are a bit more composed. They're adults.
Yeah.
This is a 15, 16-year-old girl thrust into the middle of a space adventure. Obviously you're going to be looking at her, and I think every single time she nailed it. And
even in the trailers she nailed it. Like from when she switches with Monica and she's in her spacesuit, and like it takes a second for her to realize, and she's slowly going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and then her reaction to Goose eating the goons, and like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and then, oh my god, Captain Marvel, she's about to touch her. Hold that thought. But you know, and then little things like, where did you get that? My grandma in the post. And like these little funny like descriptions of her. And then if you want to know more, go watch in the movie. Yeah. There is this one scene though, I thought, she's got wet hair, she's only after showering, right? Mm-hmm. But then her hair was dry in the next bit.
There was a lot of jumping around there, yeah.
And then I think the scene after that, when she's talking to her parents, her hair is wet again.
There was a bit of jumping around with that, especially with costumes as well. They were like changing clothes on the ship and all.
I'm talking specifically with her hair. Her hair, because her hair was dry in the middle of the two scenes. Her hair was wet. So, like, watch the movie again. You'll know what I'm talking about. But I want to add this one little thing that I think was done well. This is to do with the body swapping, especially at the start, right? When everyone was body swapping, you can't put like 3 separate frames on the TV to watch what happened to everyone. Mm-hmm. You can in post, but that's not what happened here. You show them, alright, this is where this person is here in the place where the last person was, and that last person is here now where the third person was, and then the third person was in where the first person was, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, Captain Marvel's in Kamala Khan's home, and then, you know, we see where the other two are. And then Captain Marvel fixes it, she goes back to where she was, and then Monica is back where she was, and you know, Captain Marvel has to finish fighting the goons in her scene, right? And then, we're back when getting Fury and Monica. And then there's Captain Marvel again. Aren't we supposed to see what's happening to Kamala? Mm-hmm. Where is she? Oh, she's back in her house. She's already talking to her family, having already been told that Captain Marvel was in her house. The filmmaker was not holding our hands to babysit us to have a quick shot of Miss Marvel back in the house. She's trusting us as an audience to know that,
to understand
that she is back in the house. Of course, you know, I don't need to show you to like spoon feed you. Yeah. And even then, that close up shot of her face when she learns Captain Marvel was in her room and the big grin on her face. Just a scene stealer every time, a shot stealer, if you will. And then, as well as that, I was so glad towards the end when she had her Nick Fury moment, where we get the she's in the new Hawkeye, Haley Steinfeld's Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, yes, that she does the Nick Fury, like, I want you to join a team. Did you think you were the only kid superhero? Yeah, it's like, I want to start it. Whatever. She doesn't say I want to start it. You're part of a bigger universe, and Kate Bishop's like 21, and Ms. Marvel's like 19. This is the first establishment of what we were all thinking. Yeah. Going back when they were establishing characters like Yelena and US Agent, they were foreshadowing the Thunderbolts, the anti-superhero team up. And now look, we're getting the Thunderbolts. It's been pushed to 2025, but we're still getting it. Mm-hmm. It's a team up of anti-heroes or villains. What this here is we're getting the younger versions of our main league superheroes. Mm-hmm. And this is just the start of it. So we have, I guess, a young Captain Marvel and a young Hawkeye superhero, if you will. Just, I don't know if we're going to get a team up in that of a TV show or a movie, but they mentioned Ant-Man's daughter, Stature. Yeah. So there's a young Ant-Man character. Next week, Ironheart, she's getting her own show. They're gonna loop her into it. They're gonna rope America Chavez. Yeah. So there's your Doctor Strange equivalent. There's a Hulkling.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was nice to have that kind of what we were all thinking was, oh, are they going to create a Young Avengers? And
yeah, that's essentially it. They are somewhat creating a Young Avengers, and I don't know if they're gonna rope Shuri's Black Panther into it because she could pass as a young.
Yeah.
I thought Yelena could have passed as a young Black Widow. She is, so they could bring her in plus her relationship with Kate Bishop. So you got a young Black Widow and a young Hawkeye, and with their relationship, and then just look at the original Hawkeye and the original Black Widow's relationship.
Yeah.
Just go from there. So yeah, like we are getting a Young Avengers team up somehow, some way, and I don't think it's stupid. Not unless they make it stupid.
Yeah. No, I think that it's.
I want to see what that would look like.
So do I.
For fun. I don't want them to be the main team to fight against Kang or Doctor Doom or anything. We're gonna need our main heroes. This is like a nice side thing. Just like Thunderbolts is a nice side thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you'll definitely see. We'll probably see them as like maybe the Avengers of like street level stuff.
Yeah.
I'll stick Spider-Man in there.
Spider-Man could go in there. The only problem is that it's Sony, so they could have their own plans. But yeah, you can throw Spider-Man in there. In fact, yes, you could. I could actually see Spider-Man almost leading that.
Absolutely.
If not, then maybe Yelena could do that. If not, well then maybe Kate Bishop could. But I'm glad that they thrusted Miss Marvel into that straight away with Kate Bishop, and I'm glad. It took me a minute to realize her standing behind her door, and you see her silhouette with a crossbow, and oh, cool,
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that quite a lot,
and I'm glad. I'm looking forward to seeing more of, Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel going forward.
Yeah.
Because, like we said there, stole the show for this. So can't wait to see more of her.
She stole the shots she was in.
Absolutely.
Every time she was in frame.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of...
Well, we did get one post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this wraps up our discussion on the Marvels, but let's talk about the post-credit scene before we wrap it up fully.
Shite CGI.
Yeah.
You couldn't have gotten the actor to just... Yeah, okay, it takes 4 or 5 hours to sit in the chair. But you've got the money to pay for it because you do blow away a lot of money. So... And I don't know why you got Kelsey Grammer to play Beast, a more comic book accurate Beast, but this is in another universe that Monica got trapped in because consequences. They did what Ant-Man didn't do. Okay, maybe they didn't kill Ant-Man, but maybe you could have kept him trapped in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
But, okay. When she sees a variant of her mother, who's Captain Marvel or Binary, whatever. It's the same actress, different character. Who the hell are you? Oh shit. Got a weird X-Men logo, two X's in the shapes of stars. Okay, and then he mentions Charles gonna want to see this. Okay, so you're introducing the X-Men in a bit of a build-up, but you're introducing them through actors who have already portrayed these characters.
Yeah, that's my problem as well, is that they're introducing the X-Men through X-Men we've already seen and not the upcoming ones.
Yeah.
Who we'd be more excited to see.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting idea that where are the mutants in the MCU? Well, it's simple. They're from a different universe and they'll spill over. But the characters that are spilling over are the same actors, different versions, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure they're different versions. Just the same actors, but they're from their own universe. But I'm not expecting Professor X and Beast and whatever other previously established X-Men characters to continue playing the same roles or different versions of the roles in the MCU. Except for Hugh Jackman and Wolverine, but that's a Deadpool movie. That's an exception within its own right. Because we are going to have our own version of the X-Men in the MCU. So why are we getting these versions here? I don't expect to see Kelsey Grammer's Beast again.
No.
I don't even want to. But I'm sure they want to bring Lasana. She was in The Mother, Binary. Maria Rambeau.
Lashana Lynch.
I can't even say it still. I expect to see her again somehow, some way. Same with Monica.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, what are your plan? You know.
Yeah, I think it's strange that. Excuse me. It's strange that it seems that they're banking on our memory to hold us over until they actually introduce the X-Men.
Yeah.
And I'd just rather not. I'd rather, like, that's all well and good, but it seems that that's what they're doing with the whole multiverse saga, is they are playing on a lot of our nostalgia and stuff, like having Wolverine back, like having both of the previous Spider-Men back.
And Professor X and Doctor Strange too.
Exactly. But now it's gotten to the point where, okay, remember Beast, and you're like, well, like, he's not as iconic as the other ones. Now it feels like you're just playing on the legacy of it all. Those would be fine in maybe a bigger movie, but I would rather see actually something that's
going to be a mainstay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to take it seriously because it was very bad CGI. It was very bad.
And it's not even a definite that it was the X-Men universe, Fox X-Men universe. No, not at all. Sure,
it was a completely different version of Beast. He had the teeth from his bottom lip sticking out, and he had the sort of haircut. He was more comic book accurate. He is not the same Beast played by Kelsey Grammer in X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah.
He's not.
No. So
just like Professor X and Doctor Strange 2 is not the same Professor X.
They're all variants. Yeah.
Whereas we can look at the two Spider-Men, Tobey and Andrew, as the same ones. Of course they're the same ones. And because we wanted them to be the same ones and we loved them so well and they played an effective role in the movie. These are like little skips and snippets and post-credit scenes, you know, and just little inconsequential moments.
How can we remind everyone that this is also a Marvel thing? So, I'd rather actually see like a tease to something that is to come. Now, you know, 5 years from now we could be eating our words, and you know, this is Kelsey Grammer is voicing that CGI Hank McCoy going forward. We don't know, but it just seems that we don't know, and kind of neither does Marvel. So they're just banking on the previous stuff to hold them over.
Marvel just needs to fix itself. But yeah, so that's it for Marvel for 2023. What do you have to look forward?
Next year is interesting. So far, we only have 2 projects. We've the Echo series coming in January
10th,
and it's an interesting one because it's dumping all 5 episodes day of.
So
unlike the other ones that are week to week.
Yeah, so we're not going to have 5 weeks to talk about it.
No. So
what does that mean?
I don't know, because the trailer came out. It was one of your trailers you obviously mentioned at the start of the episode.
I actually don't know if I did.
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
All right. And it did look good.
It looked good.
It looks to have a bit of violence in it. The trailer was good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested.
But do Disney have the faith in it because of the fact that they're just releasing all the episodes? They maybe want to...
And they're releasing it under an umbrella, a new brand that's going to have a new Marvel logo opening with a new bit of music made by Michael Giacchino.
Marvel Spotlight, isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay, so is this like... It means they're going to have MCU projects that you don't need to watch anything else to watch this, even though it's still in the same continuity.
Yeah, I can see Werewolf by Night fitting under that as well, probably.
Yeah, but they're already released, and well, then what about Blade? Shouldn't that qualify? What about Deadpool? Shouldn't that qualify? Yeah. What about other stuff that have already been released? Moonlight, where's that coming up again? She-Hulk. I don't want to see her maybe
maybe ever again.
So honestly, it just sounds like it's just semantics. They're just people like hearing lists and
put it into a box.
Yeah, like box things up, label them. You know, people like labels. That's what they're doing here. It's just semantics. Watch it, Echo. Don't watch Echo. Doesn't matter.
And then the only film we have in the MCU is Deadpool 3.
I think people need a break from the MCU a little.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that having those 2 projects,
like Echo's gonna come and go within a week.
Yeah.
So it's really only Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other MCU shows. I think Agatha has been pushed to 2025. So is Ironheart. Daredevil has been revamped to shoot again.
Yeah, so I think that maybe that might be a good thing. We'll just get Deadpool, which might, like, realistically, it is an MCU film, but it might feel a lot more like a Fox film.
What, just a Deadpool film?
Just a Deadpool film, exactly. Yeah. So, who knows, maybe a year off would be a good way to kind of maybe reevaluate things and just get, take a step back before you take a running start. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because we're getting like 4 movies in 2025.
Yeah. Not to mention, 2 of those movies are Avengers movies.
No, they've been pushed to 2026 now.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, okay. In 2025 it's Captain America, Thunderbolts, Blade, Fantastic Four. Yeah, we're still living in we've gone through in a year where we don't know who the Fantastic Four is. Yeah. And I don't care at this stage. I'll be curious and I'll be thinking about when they announce.
But it's not something you're...
No, they've dragged it out way too long.
Yeah. So when did they announce that Fantastic Four movie? 2020?
Yeah.
So it's
2020.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2019. Yeah, 2020 I'd say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
this
is where we sit in the MCU. We need a break, but we're looking forward to Deadpool, and this was a nice palate cleanser. Nice to have.
A nice fun.
And I'm looking forward to hopefully what might be a Young Avengers. They set up, they teased the Thunderbolts, now we're getting the Thunderbolts. They teased Young Avengers, well now we'll get the Young Avengers. Maybe we'll get Wanda's kids from different variants.
Maybe.
Of them.
Yeah. You got any recommendations for us for this?
I need to finish the finale. I have 1 episode left. It's called Bad Sisters. So on Apple TV Plus, 10 episodes. I think we are getting a season 2, but it's after the fact of the success and popularity and likability of the show. It's about 4 sisters trying to kill their 5th sister's abusive prick of a husband. Okay. And it's a black comedy, and it's almost like westernized in in that term of comedy. Like
it's Irish sisters, isn't it?
It's Irish, set in Ireland, Dublin, and all that. Like you watch a show, and realistically, this is not how Irish people would act like this. But it's in the vein of comedy, so they sort of have to act this way. But I think it's acceptable and it's right. And they do some fucking bold things, like, I don't know about this because these are like dire existential life and death consequences they're getting into, and it's a black comedy, but it's kind of bold, and it's taking place between 2 separate timelines, so it keeps flashing back and forward, and I just think it's great. I think it's already interesting that the fact that it is 5 sisters than let's say 5 brothers or a mixture of both siblings. I think it's very good. Sarah Green is in it from Normal People, and one of the actresses from the Magdalene Sisters, and one of the sisters is the creator of the show as well. It's successful. I love it. I like it quite a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends. 1 season. Season 2 was filming during the strike because we're not American. And Bono's daughter is one of the sisters as well. It's pretty good. Yeah. Brendan Gleeson's son is also in it.
Oh, Brian Gleeson?
Brian Gleeson. Yeah, he's actually very good in it.
Yeah, I like him, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely Bad Sisters, I give it a watch. It's quite a good show. I like it. And all the 5 sisters are like, there's a lot of diversity in them. They're all different.
Good.
You know?
Yeah. One thing I actually forgot to mention about Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Just before I get to my recommendation.
Yeah.
Something to just consider, because I think it's not doing quite well at the box office this opening weekend.
Yeah.
But it is important to mention as well that it's the one and only Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that has released during the actor strike. None of the actors were able to promote the film. So that is something to take into consideration. I think if you go back and look at a lot of the movies that came out over the last 3 months, there hasn't been a lot of box office winners. Maybe that's down to the promotion and stuff like that. But it's just something to think about as well.
I just can't believe people would be that stupid to not think. Maybe stupid is a very harsh word, but I mean,
I think a lot of people would be influenced by who they see. Like, I know that in America, like a lot of late night talk shows, they haven't been running because of the actor strike, because there's been no actors that can go on it.
I just think people who go to cinemas know what to go for, whether it's good or not. But the fact that they're willing to go, or else you don't go. I know people who don't go to cinemas and they can watch people talk about the movies they're in, but they still won't go. I know people personally who are like that, and then I know personally people who would watch that stuff and may or may not be influenced, but they'll go because they want to go to the cinema. And they'll let their partner pick. And we'll go like that. Oh, it's an action movie. Oh, it's a rom-com movie. You know?
Yeah.
I really can't understand how people won't go to a movie just because there's no one talking about it. It seems very old-fashioned for the age we're in. I don't know. Maybe I need to be educated on that part. Maybe our listeners can educate me on that part. But until then, I agree. Because poor Iman Vellani couldn't get to promote this movie for her own self. What's a shame.
My recommendation very quickly is Bo Burnham's Inside. I rewatched it there during the week. I thought it was good. It was a comedy special he did during COVID. During the lockdown. He did it all from inside his house. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But yeah, that brings an episode of Talking Pictures to a close.
Another long episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it all the way through, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you have any thoughts on not Captain Marvel, if you have any thoughts on the Marvels or the MCU as a whole, please make sure to write into us at talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. Follow us on all our socials, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. All the links are down below. And have you got any final words?
No.
Higher, further, faster, baby.